Hey everyone, welcome to Ink Scribes, the comics podcast where we talk about the art and craft of comics. I'm Colin Singh, an aspiring comics artist and lifelong student of the craft, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Eric Zawadzki and Taylor Stauft.
I am currently publishing a creator-owned book at Image Comics called Assorted Crisis Events. It is a monthly series. It's the best thing I've ever done. And yeah, it would be great if you could support it. You can find it at your local comic shop.
And I'm Taylor Stauft. I'm the artist for the Dauntless book, From Fire and Blood, a Jason Zhang adventure. Links will be down below.
All right, everybody. So tonight we're going to continue our exploration of Frank Whiteley's early career. In this episode, we're going to be covering his short stories, a collection of short stories from his contributions to the Big Book of series, which was previously published by DC Comics.
Okay, so we're going to look at a whole bunch of short stories by Frank Whiteley for this Big Book of series of books that were done by Paradox Press, which was an imprint of DC Comics. I guess it was. I guess before that, there was Piranha Press. So, and Piranha Press was basically existed from about 1989 to 1994, and it was DC responding to the growing interest in alternative comics. When that died off, they replaced it with Paradox Press, and the most famous Paradox Press comics are A History of Violence and Road to Perdition. But they did a series of books called The Big Book of, which several years ago, DC published this graphic ink hardcover by featuring all the work that Frank Whiteley did for DC Comics. And actually, I'll do a little flip through here. It actually has a dust jacket, but I always throw my dust jacket in a drawer somewhere. But yeah, it's a very cool book. It's got all his short stories from the 90s, a mix of his Vertigo short stories and all the short stories he did for the Big Book of. And this is just a quick flip through. But yeah, we're going to look at all these short stories this week.
I do just want to say that Paradox Press also published Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud.
Right.
Artists out there,
They
get
also,
it.
actually, the only surviving book from Paradox Press, I think, was Transmetropolitan, and it got shuffled over to Vertigo, right?
Did it really?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
That was an ongoing book, and it was doing well enough that they kept it and they got rid of everything else. Got rid of as in they canceled the line. But Road to Perdition and those books, History of Violence, they're all obviously still in print. Um, it is weird how they did
Just
like
under
one
a Black
shots and
Label or
small
Vertigo name.
series like that. Yeah. It was kind of a weird line. I never really took to it myself, but I did read Transmetropolitan.
It's weirdly looking at all of these. It's weirdly literary almost. It kind of reads like they kind of missed what alternative comics were.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah,
Road to Perdition and A History of Violence. Like I've only seen the movie versions, but those were both Academy Award nominated. You know, like those. It's the source material is. It's very grounded.
Yeah, I think a lot of those imprints in those early days were very editorially driven. So like the Vertigo line was basically Karen Berger's taste. And the same thing with Piranha Press. Piranha Press was like this editor, Mark Neverlau. And then when he departed, that's when they changed the name because he was Piranha Press. And so when Andrew Helfer and Bronwyn Carlton took over, they changed it to Paradox Press. And then like Heidi MacDonald ended up taking over for a bit, but then the whole imprint was shuttered. And there were actually a final 3 Big Book of books that never saw publication. So yeah,
Oh
I
wow.
wonder where all that material went. But Frank Wiley, I think, only worked on them from like 94 to 96. So I don't think he contributed to those later ones. But by the time they shuttered that line, Quietly was working on Authority and New X-Men.
Maybe they got shuttered to Helix, the short-lived DC sci-fi imprint.
Oh, Transmetropolitan was Helix,
Oh
wasn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Geez,
Was it
all these
Helix or
imprints I
Paradox?
forgot about. Yeah, yeah, I specifically remember
Yeah.
it was Helix. Yeah. So with this episode, I want to focus on like, what separates Frank Whiteley from all his imitators, and I think very specifically what separates him is his foundational art skills. He has a complete knowledge of anatomy. He has a vast array of ink rendering techniques. He's got a perfect understanding of lighting, perspective, storytelling, and all of that is a foundation that's underneath his style. Whereas I think a lot of his imitators latched onto the style before mastering all of those foundation skills.
Yeah.
And in these short stories, we're going to see just all of those foundation skills that I listed. He's just a complete master at.
Yeah, go to take lessons if you can, burgeoning artists out there, because you need them. You don't think you do. I know you don't, but you do.
So with all these short stories, uh, we'll get into specifics and your reasoning later. But with each one of you guys, like, which one was your favorite?
For me, it was the Elephant Man one, Joseph Merrick.
Okay, Colin, what about you?
Oh, dude, that was depressing as fuck. Come on. No, that was my not that that was my least favorite
Well,
one.
I
They were
mean,
all
I'm
good.
not even
I
thinking
I,
about the
I loved
stories.
them all, but
I'm thinking about the
I
art.
know it just
But like from an art standpoint, which was your favorite, Colin?
oof, oof. Elephant Man.
Oh yeah, okay. Elephant Man was my favorite
Yeah.
as well. Which I was hoping we'd all have different ones, and then when we land on that short,
Yeah.
we'd get an explanation because I'm going to go in great detail on why the Elephant Man was my favorite of the illustrated of all the ones he illustrated here. And I'd be interested to hear why for you as well, Taylor. But before we get to that one, we're going to start off with the first one, which is the Physicist and the Flying Saucer. So I should say that these were basically thick trade paperback books where you know uh, there would probably be like 15, 16 short stories written by one author. So in the Big Book of Conspiracies in 1995, Doug Munch wrote every story. And then when we get to the next one after that, which is the Big Book of Death, every story was written by Bronwyn Carlton. But these are just the Frank Whiteley stories. So starting off, we have the Physicist and the Flying Saucer from the Big Book of Conspiracies. So what do you guys think of this one?
Physicist. I just want
It's
to put
good.
that out there. Bob
So,
Lazar.
so
There's no record.
yeah, so uh, I read this short story years ago, and I had never heard of Bob Lazar. But after reading this, I rabbit holed and tried to learn everything I could about him because I grew up on the X-Files as a kid, and I find conspiracy stuff fun.
Yeah.
I try to balance skepticism with an open mind. So but I just find a lot of this stuff fun. I guess you know a lot about Bob Lazar, Taylor.
I don't know a lot. I also did a rabbit hole a couple of years ago just because I think I came across him on some podcast or something, like a last podcast or something. And it's it's one of those things where I think we're all in this camp. Boy, it would be great if this were true. I just really need a lot more proof.
Yeah, I find he's an interesting guy because uh, I mean, most people in the UFO space aren't scientists, and they talk like everyman types, but Bob Lazar actually talks like a scientist, and when he starts talking about this stuff, it's easy to start believing because
Mm,
he sounds like a smart guy. He sounds like he's he knows the science behind this stuff. So yeah, I don't know. At any rate, this short story was a lot of fun.
It is, yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's the vast conspiracies and the nooks and crannies of American history.
Yeah, so he had to do a whole bunch of likenesses in this one. Like he had to do Bob Lazar's likeness,
Yeah.
and
It's weird.
he had to do a likeness uh, of this guy, the father of the hydrogen bomb, Edward Teller. So
Oh yeah, he's in. You can see him in Oppenheimer.
right, which character was
Right.
he?
He's the one that at their meetings he is constantly bringing up. We have to go bigger. Like I think he brings it up at least twice. I can't remember the actor's name, but he's a bigger guy, dark hair, an accent of some kind. I want to say, and he's constantly bringing up like, well, we need to go bigger. Like this is not sustainable. As especially as they're working. As they discover more and more, they realize that the Soviets are also going to be eventually get here. So they're like, well, we should be working on this now as well.
Oh, okay,
Mm.
cool. So when it comes to Frank Quietly working on this, there are so many inking techniques on this one page alone. He's got this like gradient stippling effect. It sort of like starts off stippling and goes straight to black to create this.
It's very effective.
Yeah, and yeah, he's got this. There's this weird effect he's got for this plant right here, and he's got these corduroy pants. He's got several different fuzzy mics. Like these two mics have different rendering techniques on them.
Yeah.
And even on the next page, there's like a cave, and yeah, there's just so much skill being showed on just a couple of pages here.
Yeah. This goes to something that Colin has brought up in our previous Quietly episodes. The textures that this guy gets just through. At this point, I'm pretty sure a lot of it is down to patience because Jesus knows I would not have the patience to render a lot of this.
And even just
Well,
knowledge,
even
like
if you go
I
out
don't
to
really have
the
the knowledge of a lot of these effects. I'm learning that by this stuff by studying Frank Whiteley
Yeah.
comics because I didn't go to art school.
yeah, even on the next page, the very first panel of the badge, the plastic badge with the lanyard and like the
Yeah.
texture of the sweater behind it, like one thing upon another thing. It's really hard to pull
Yeah,
that all
like
off without just drawing it as just a badge. You're just drawing a badge on someone's sweater, but like it's just white on white kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's selling that it's a kind of crappy old photo.
Yep.
It's fading a little bit,
Yeah,
all with ink. All of this is done with
yeah,
pen and ink.
And even the way that the little clip bends that connects the card to the lanyard, the bend is like, well, I've seen that. Yeah, it's an awkward, semi-stiff piece of plastic. It just goes to sell further the material that it's made out of.
and then the shadow of that on the
Yeah.
sweater, and then that thing upon that thing. Yeah,
Yeah, he's just man, he he goes hard on everything.
Yeah. So, Colin, before we started recording, you were talking about this flying saucer.
yeah. So it's actually the very last panel of this page. I was making the comment in the dialogue. He Lazar says it's like it's pressed out of a piece of sheet metal, but you can see on the saucer, Quietly's got the grid going again to define the shape. And I think here it's very, very essential. That's the way you sell that it's a rounded shape. If you have nothing but black and white, and So anyway, that was the point I was going to make. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean it's funny because a grid is a recurring part of his work to sell the form, and even on the panel before that we have like an almost grid to show that this is a wall. But he wants to show that this saucer is a very specific shape. So you see this line go around the saucer. He's very concerned with selling three-dimensionality and selling the form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. regardless of it being in contradiction to what is being told, because you could read
Yeah,
that
if it
as
goes
scenes,
against the yeah.
but he doesn't care. He is Frank Quitely, and quite frankly, he's great. Got
Let's
rapping
see.
Ronnie Reagan down in the corner. That's
Yeah,
a
you really like this.
surprisingly, that's a great balance, I think, of his cartooning style and recognizably Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, and so yeah, I mean this narrator character was, I think, narrating every short that was in the big book of conspiracy theories. Um, but right here with this panel, it's pretty interesting because he's selling a sort of a blown out photograph effect
Yeah,
where like the lighting isn't necessarily perfect, and it's just so amazing that he can pull this off with just again with just pen and ink.
what I find interesting about it though is that the sex workers that Bob Lazar is running out in the panel next to him, that's not what he's doing. Like he's it. There is a weird incongruity between some of them. Like he's making these choices to be like, yeah, these women are cartoons, but this is a real guy. I
Yeah,
would love to know
Right.
the
Yeah.
choice, like why he chose that. I guess.
well, one was probably just like directly from a photograph, which is just because this is this a real guy?
It sure looks like it.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Gene Huff. I think that's got to be a real guy.
And I love how all this lettering is integrated with the art. Like it's hand done, and it's just not perfect looking. And yeah, that's something I strive for in my work, which is just to integrate it with the art in that specific way.
Yeah, it does look like children. There used to be giant books of phone numbers for each city. They were called phone books, and it really does
Mm.
look like that.
So right here, everybody that he draws has a weight to them, and so you look at
Yeah.
this soldier right here, just how his hip is like
Just slightly.
shifted in
Yeah.
a certain way so that his leg is up and that the bottom part of his leg is in shadow. But like every one of these soldiers has a posture to them and has a weight to them that sells that posture. And I love how he's selling the wind effect. This is a very windy environment.
Yeah, even the straps on their helmets
Yeah.
just whipping around them.
Yeah. And then we get some trademark quietly gore violence as these aliens explode their heads.
I love the helmets just popping off.
Yeah, it's very cartoony.
Yeah.
Like that's like an element out of like a Bugs Bunny cartoon or whatever, right?
But even to your point about posture, though, like the posture of them all has affected them, right? One is looks like he's falling back, the other looks like he's falling forward, the other is almost like surprised, like what? I'm exploding.
Yeah, it's crazy how he just deploys so many different poses. I mean, the more people you draw on a page, the more work it's going to be. And he never shies away from drawing multiple figures. Like every one of these pages has like a dozen figures on them. But yeah, that one right here we get some more ink rendering techniques.
And yeah, and like period appropriate rendering of well, you got the Wailing Wall back there in the first panel, and you can and the only reason I know that is because of the veneration poses that the I'm gonna guess rabbis are doing in front of it.
Yeah, I like the amount of research that
Yeah.
he's got to research every single panel on this because it's all history. I mean, he had to get photo reference of Jesus, so
So difficult.
Yeah.
but yeah, that was fun. So that was the first one, and in this big quietly book, they have all his Vertigo short stories and all his big book of short stories. We're going to look at the Vertigo short stories on a completely different episode. But for now, we have the very next big book of, which is the Big Book of Death, which came out in 1996, written by Bronwyn Carlton.
This was a lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be.
Okay. Yeah, it was very informative.
Yeah.
Straight off the bat, I don't. Am I crazy, or is this not Warren Ellis?
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I
don't think it's Warren Ellis.
Yeah, maybe.
No, the eyes are too small.
My immediate thought is
eyes are too small.
This is a guy who wants to stop everyone from masturbating. That's what he wants. I'm Dr. Kellogg, and I've introduced grape nuts.
Amazing. I love it. So in this one, he has to draw like a lot of anatomical type drawings, designing a what a trapdoor looks like, and then like the skull and how the spine breaks from being hung.
Not just the spine though, but like a cross section of the spine.
Yeah. And also just like how the skin gets pushed and pulled, and sort of like when I guess rigor mortis sets in, and how the skin gets frozen in that pulled way.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess there had to have been research for this, but...
Oof. Could you imagine doing that research, though? Christ. Like, I got to find a strangling victim and a hanging victim.
Yeah.
But I will say, the rendering that he used, the rendering technique for the rope burns...
Yeah.
It's really effective.
Yeah, really nicely done.
And the stippling effect for...
for
the hair and the stubble here. And then this gradient here. I mean, this whole thing is just going to be me oohing and awing all the ink rendering techniques that he's got down.
So gather round, everyone, and ooh and ah around with us.
Yeah. And again, like with this inking, I get a Franklin Booth sort of like a classic Illustrator effect. I highly recommend picking up this Franklin Booth book because it is amazing.
Yeah, because it has the feeling of like something out of The Strand. Like these are illustrations that would go along with like a Sherlock Holmes short story or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing where if you want to film a movie that takes place in the 70s, you should probably use film stock instead of digital.
Yeah.
And, I like the idea of like, this is history, so let's draw like an old illustrator would do from way back when.
I also want to point out the pose of the falling victim. It really gives the feeling of a man who is tied up and still flailing. Like, no. He's not taking it. he's not taking his hanging particularly gracefully, which, I wouldn't either, but that's not the sort of thing I would have thought of until seeing Frank Quietly do it.
Yeah, and just how he's framed by the lighting. Like, you can tell the sun is shining on a very specific angle, and that it is framing this figure that's in quite a bit of shadow, falling into a dark environment. Yeah. Just brilliant work. So what's the next one? The next short story was Dali from the Big Book of Weirdos in 1995. So this one was written by Carl Posset.
This is the one I should have said was my favorite.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
It's so strange.
Like Dali?
I do like Dali. Because I really love I love when an artist is weird. I love when they're just a fucking weirdo. And I think it's a great marriage of the story, the subject, and the techniques that he uses. Like, obviously, reproducing Dali's work is a feat unto itself, but also just giving the feel of, this weird little guy. It's like Dali was a virgin till he was like in his late 30s or 40s because he was afraid of vaginas, but he got therapy for it and just like went ham on on sex after that. Like he's such a weirdo.
Big book of weirdos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the rendering technique on
You said it.
that giraffe, like what is that? I don't know, but that's great. And the way it transitions
it's the
to
merging. It's the merging of. It's like the in between of these two panels as he's envisioning. It's a very cool effect of him envisioning something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's.
You think he left some of this in pencil, or is it definitely all ink?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like, it looks like it's mostly done in ink, but when he does the detailing on the face, it's done in pencil, and therefore it's like reproduced intentionally poorly by the printer. Like printers back then couldn't reproduce pencil that well, and it looks like he knew that, and so he's taking advantage of that effect by using pencil in the face. But I don't know. Maybe he did a weird technique with ink. I'm not sure, but it's certainly, you guys see that as well, right? It looks like pencil.
It's,
100%.
but it also,
because in Blackheart, like I said, for the mirror effects, it was kind of the foreground image was like pure black, like you could tell it was inked, and then like the mirror image, or if she's looking in the mirror, or I can't quite remember the composition, but it's all like it's pencil. The hatching's all done in pencil.
It certainly
and
feels
it's slightly
like,
more gray. It's not black. It's like a dark gray.
Yeah, looking at this, it certainly looks like it was pencil that was reproduced like poorly, which I'm sure was his intention.
And that's also glossy stock, though, right?
What a gamble that is.
Paper too.
Yeah.
Like what if?
And it's such a clever idea to only do it on his face, and yeah, he does it here as well for his drawings. But it makes him stand out from everything else because this giraffe is all ink. Yeah. Everything, all the other figures are then he meets some of his peers and they're drawn. Like there's this stippling man, and then there's this like, I don't know.
Yeah, who is that? George Seurat and
Picasso.
Thank you.
No?
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be Picasso. Yeah, the Cubist.
Right. So, yeah, it's he's showing off his art history techniques with this short. So, and very convincing melting clocks, like very convincing.
Yeah, I love the droplet of watch.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing was amazing. So next up, what do we have? We have my favorite. My favorite from an illustration standpoint.
Our collective favorite, I think.
Yeah. So this is from the Big Book of Freaks in 1996, written by Gahan Wilson. So, I mean, this one page alone is stunning.
It's so much work.
Every background is a different effect, a different inking effect. So you got the horizontal lines on this one, and you got the like sort of screen door patchwork effect on this one, and then you got vertical lines here, and then you have like the gradient from the candle here.
Yeah, it's like tick marks, and
then you have another candle effect here, and then you have the very specific effect he does rendering the Elephant Man himself, which is using a whole bunch of scribbles.
Yeah. Which gets to like the texture of his skin and the structure underneath the skin, and
yeah, so he reserves the scribble effect all throughout this short specifically for the Elephant Man. And yeah, it really sells the horror of it, I guess.
And the tragedy of it, like, because he keeps that tear
this
quite notable.
He sold it big time because this was depressing as fuck.
Yeah, even on this like fetus shot here,
where
we get the very specific detailing. But yeah, I mean this whole short just feels like he's showing off what he can do. Yeah, it's I
And
mean
not just in a rendering way, but in like there is a lot of pathos. There's a lot of empathy going on in this too. Like he doesn't he manages to not make and there's a lot of Michael Jackson owns the Elephant Man bones or whatever, but like Joseph Merrick was a real guy with thoughts and feelings, and I'm really impressed
Yeah.
by Quietly being able to get across the character of him as well. Like this is you feel for him.
yeah.
It's a kick in the dick, but it's well done.
Yeah, and you even get the impression that like if he was a filmmaker, he'd choose to light everything with candlelight.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the impression I get from all the lighting choices he makes, or
It's
just like
Yeah.
exterior lighting.
audience, if you're looking for a David Lynch film to watch in memoriam, I do recommend The Elephant Man. It's
Yeah, actually, I only saw it like a couple weeks ago because in preparation for this episode and because of the passing of Lynch, I saw it for the first time a couple of weeks ago.
mhm. It's quite
So
good.
yeah,
And
and I found it interesting because I guess this is the more accurate story, and all these events in this short story are in the David Lynch version, but jumbled in a different order,
mm,
specifically so that the movie can have a climax and a happy ending, whereas in the reality in this short story the happy ending comes halfway into the story.
mm,
He just
yeah,
like
Yeah.
has his happy place that he can be in until he dies. But in order, like movies have to have a very specific structure, so in the movie he finds his happy place and then ends up getting kidnapped away to like the rest of Europe, as we see here, and then has to find his way back. And then the movie ends when he gets to his home.
yeah.
So yeah, it is interesting to see the differing structure.
Ah, it's just so yeah. It's because the thing is, and I don't want any of us to forget that like we all love the different techniques that are being used, the technical aspect, but telling a story is about the emotionality of the story. It's about the connection that you make with the audience,
Yeah,
with the subject matter. Like, and I certainly hope that none of us or that the audience doesn't think that we're just getting bogged down in the technical aspects of it.
yeah. I mean, although it's easy to
Yeah, but
do
you want to go to that
because
lighthouse panel? Just go to that lighthouse panel for a minute. Just appreciate that.
yeah. Taylor just brought up let's appreciate the emotion, but we're gonna dive back into the technicals.
The thing, I mean, but yeah, it is.
Yes.
It's a technical marvel, right? Like
It
that
is,
water
yeah.
alone is God. That's
Yes.
that's so good.
Did you have any commentary, Colin?
No, I just wanted to look at it
No. Okay.
Just for the bit.
because it's awesome. Because I love
I
it.
I want to
Because I love it
comment
so
on
much.
the weight of this character, where he's putting
Yep.
all his weight on this cane of his,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just you just believe that like this foot is a little bit off the ground, and that is something that is incredibly difficult to do, is to make the reader feel the weight of a character. Yeah, it's not as easy as it looks. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm just in awe at looking at like every panel of this. Like I love how he's backlit here,
Yep.
and there's a very clear distinction between the foreground and background.
And the angle choice is great. It really drives home the feeling of Merrick he's out in public, but he's also still hidden, and it makes you feel like he shouldn't be there, but yes he should be. It's very it's a well composed and chosen shot for what it's trying to depict.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very very
The final,
emotional
the
too.
final, The final three panels are my most favorite panels of this whole story.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
they just go together perfectly. It's like a triptych almost.
Yep.
You know,
You know.
just how like beautifully illustrated this like glass is,
The
where
distortion
he
Yeah.
behind and
yeah, he captures the distortion and then the how you see the Elephant Man through it.
yeah.
Yeah. I would highly recommend readers try to track this book down or just buy this digitally and just
Mhm.
pore over these pages, because there's a lot to be learned here. But what do we have next? Next up, we have the Cuttingly Fairy Photos. And this is from the Big Book of Hoaxes, 1996, written by Paul M. Yelovich. So, Taylor, you're a history buff. Had you heard of this story before?
I have, yes.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. It's I think it's a tale mostly about I think it's not enough people talk about it, but it's very much about how you can use new technology in ways that, if you're not careful, they get out of hand. Because, like, the fact that they have these two girls, they're like 13 and 14, and you can still find these.
Oh, I meant to look it up. Yeah.
And they look surprisingly good, although, and I'll admit the thing that they point out as that they use as evidence that it's a hoax later on in the story, the lack of blur of the wings, is the
Yeah.
sort of thing that, like, I've seen these photos. I didn't pick up on that. It does look, it's composed well, but it takes, what is it, like the 1980s and a computer to show you. Oh yeah, well, given how long this would take to expose, those wings shouldn't be still. They should be, because that's not how cameras worked back then.
Now, and that's such an
Right.
interesting challenge for Frank Whiteley to do. He's given a panel where you only have pen and ink, and you have to draw a clear image right beside a blurry image,
Hmm.
which is incredibly challenging to do. And this is how he sells it.
Yeah.
So it has a sort of like grainy quality to the inks, and then the inks are a little more clear here.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, well, and he's
So
doing a great
good.
job there in that top panel on the left hand side of
Yeah.
reproducing, like, early 1920s or 10s. I can't remember when this takes place, but it's quite early in the 20th century, and of reproducing the look of those photos with, again, just pen and ink.
Yeah.
It's just black and white.
Yeah. From
And
1917.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just want to comment on the like several different ways you can render a suit,
Mm.
which we have like three different ways of rendering a suit right here, which is very cool. But I also want to comment that like there's a dozen haircuts in these 3 pages. We've got 3 pages, and there's a dozen haircuts that he has chosen. He hasn't cut any corners. He's not being repetitive in the slightest. You can easily fall into just like doing the same thing, but uh, he just doesn't do that. You have the hair in a bun, and then you have the long blonde hair. You have the curly hair. You have this weird haircut, and then somebody
The
going
spit
bald.
curl haircut.
What a great
Right.
face that
Yeah,
guy has too.
yeah. And then as the girls get older, they have their haircuts get different. And
Yeah.
then you've got this braid. This braid, he like figured out how this hair works. You could have, as an artist, you don't have a lot of time, so you can just like black it all out and then throw a little bit of white on there. But no, you can tell that he has meticulously figured out
Yeah,
how this
structure.
hair goes together. And yeah, you have the different braided elements here, and then these women, as old women, they have different haircuts, and
Yeah, their hair is receded and it's thinned out. You can tell. Oh yeah, this is aged.
yeah, he doesn't cut any corners. It's just
Yeah,
amazing.
this is also a story that it's. I do find it fascinating. Not that the girls do it, but that so many people were willing to believe. Like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, creator of Sherlock Holmes,
Yeah.
is all in on this
Oh, yeah.
because he's already all in on spiritualism, which post World War One sees a huge increase in popularity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just because so many families lost young men to the trenches that when the possibility of technology will allow us to communicate with the dead, they're not quite gone. We can still say goodbye. It was a super intoxicating and very, people loved that idea. Like way more people than would now
I mean,
loved that
just
idea.
with the amount
Yeah.
of people on the planet mourning, it's like a
Yeah.
very seductive idea.
Yeah. I don't think.
That's the partial.
Go ahead.
That's the partial premise for Aerosmith by Kurt Busiek and Carlos Pacheco,
That's right. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
where they mix magic with World War One.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think
it happens around the same time.
I don't think enough people really give enough weight to the psychic damage that war did to this whole planet.
And then there was a pandemic right afterwards that killed more people than the war.
Nope.
So it's
Yep.
just death and death and death.
And then the crash, and yeah, it was just boy, it was a real rough 50 years for the 20th century.
Well, I mean, back then everybody had 5 or 6 children, right?
You can afford to lose some.
Okay, so next up we have Amma
Barker.
Barker. So this is from the Big Book of Little Criminals in 1996, written by George Hagenauer. So yeah, what do you guys think of this one? Did you guys know that there's a bit of a twist ending to this?
Go on.
To do with shoot, what's his name from the FBI?
J. Edgar Hoover?
J. Edgar Hoover. Did you guys know this history?
I've listened to a podcast series about her, but a lot of these details were lost. This is the only thing I really know about this time period is everybody involved is so poor they do not know that the Great Depression starts for like 4 years.
Really?
They're all super unaware of it just because they are so poor. There's
no radio.
Well, and there's no notable difference in
Right.
their quality of life because
Oh,
they're
okay.
just living so subsistently that like any drop is like, yeah, I mean, this is how we always live.
Huh.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just crazy that they killed this woman, and in order to cover it up, they just said, "Well, we killed her. She's innocent. Well, why don't we just say that she's an evil mastermind?"
Oh yeah, this.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is exactly what I would expect from Hoover.
A guy who was in charge of the FBI for what, like 60 years or something?
Yeah.
Or maybe not that long.
But it's a long time. Like he's FBI director until at least the 50s.
Yeah, he even throughout the 60s, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gained power and just clung on to it.
Yeah. There's
He lasted
Yeah.
how many presidents?
he's the reason that they're now FBI directors are limited to 10 years, so that they outstrip a president.
He's the reason?
Full term. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons.
He was too powerful for too long.
But it's also important to remember for our viewers, the FBI is not a police force. It is an intelligence agency. Don't ever forget that.
Yeah.
Mulder and Scully.
Yep.
Okay, so Quitely's art. What can we say about Quitely's art here?
I'm going to be honest. I found this one a little bland, which I was surprised at.
Oh yeah.
I was going to put it a little better than that. But yeah, it's very straightforward. He's not doing anything too quote unquote innovative. He's not playing with
Yeah.
passage of time or using three panels as one panel or anything like that. It's just very like shot after shot, just the general passage of time, right? I mean, each panel
I
is
always have to
interesting
think
by
that like
itself, but
yeah, but you always have to consider that like each one of these shorts is written by a different writer, and some of them are some of them are maybe indicating a new moment every panel. Some are maybe trying to have you illustrate a progression, and yeah, whoever is writing it has a big say on how that turns out. But I mean, it's still
this is
gold. Like
Oh
this
yeah,
panel
yeah,
right here, there's three planes. There's foreground, midground, background, and the foreground is a lot more dark.
yeah. Which I do. I love that effect to pull it forward,
yeah.
but also kind of make you disregard it. I guess at the
Yeah,
same time, it's a good way of setting up those planes.
yeah.
Uh,
In all of these, you have the background with very sort of limited line work, just to
yeah.
like so that your eye doesn't focus too much on it, but you still get the idea of what it is.
And I like in the bottom left-hand corner, we keep bringing this up, but the texture of that coat, like that
Yeah,
feels like a wool coat.
yeah. Like what that feels like by looking
Yep.
at it.
Yep. Exactly.
And selling texture is very important, but it's something that you kind of easily forget about because when you're a comic artist, you have to focus on 100 different things on the page. Am I telling the story properly? Is the anatomy right?
Mm.
Is the character on model from what I've established before? Like, there's 100 things. Did I get the perspective right? What about the lighting? And like low on the list is like, did I get the feel of what corduroy feels like? Do you get the sense from looking at it?
but
Uh,
but look at the rendering on like those prison bars. Like that, I can feel the years of paint coating that iron
yeah,
just from looking at it.
Yeah.
It's smooth and jagged at the same time. Ugh.
and this is a difficult thing to do. Is put you have a tiny panel to put three figures into a prison, and you could just draw the entire prison bars, but then you can't see the figures if you have the full prison bars. So yeah, he focuses on a tight frame, and you can clearly tell it's prison bars even though it's super close up, and then he gets three
Mhm.
figures in there.
Yeah. Yeah, you make a good point about you can tell it's prison bars right away.
Yeah, even though it's like a close-up.
Yeah. And even the texture on and the knit, like the knit pattern on that sweater vest.
Yeah,
He
so
did not
detailed.
need to do that at all.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
the sort of thing that pattern makers think of. I
That's what's making me think he might have used pencil here.
oh, okay. Just because it's so fine?
I don't think it would be
Yeah.
reproduced as well as this if it was pencil. Like I can see this background on panel one being pencil. I don't know if it is, but like because this is how pencil is reproduced way back with that. Nowadays, printing technology can reproduce pencils pretty well, but back then it ended up coming out looking like this.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, I mean, I would love to look at the original art of this. Yeah, I mean, look, do you know how much work it is to do all this stippling?
Good God. Right?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, this is like he got a gig to draw like 4 or 5 pages, and he's getting paid probably just as much as everybody else, but he's just sinking more time than everybody else into it.
But it's the reason that we're doing several episodes on him and not everybody else that is in
Yeah,
this big book of
and why they got
Yeah.
why these are the only
yeah,
ones that have ever been reprinted, I think.
yeah. Like when I think of fun, bouncy Batman, Frank Quitely comes to mind. You know?
Yeah, yeah. Which the three Batman issues are in here, and
Hell yeah.
they're gorgeous. But
So's like a short, like a 3 or 4 page short, right? I have that copy too. It's the Dick Grayson Batman. Uh, you know, he's on patrol or something. At
yeah,
the
that
very
was from
last
like
panel is him smiling, saying, "Tell everybody we're watching you. We're watching
yeah,
everybody."
from like
Yeah, that short's
Time
in
and
there too.
Batman or whatever.
Oh yeah. Time in the Batman. Yep.
Yeah, he just did like
Yeah.
4 pages in a. There was a whole bunch of artists in that one story. But anyway, next up we have Pavel Navratsky's Pigpen, which is from the Big Book of Losers from 1997, and that was written by Paul Kirchner. So this is only 2 pages.
This
This
was
this is an interesting one.
Yeah, this was real strange because he's getting real cartoony with it.
Yeah, this figure is like
Yeah.
he's a stick bug.
Yeah. And yeah, do you remember the old 7 Up mascot, Ditto? That's what I kept seeing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it is very. I mean, I guess he was like, "What does a loser look like?" Like I don't know. Like, and this is a like you know what? Each one of these ends with a sticker that says "Factoid Books 100% True." So I mean, I guess this is a true story of a really weird
Yeah.
dude.
Well, what I find interesting too, though, is he doesn't have a lot of, well, it's very cartoony, like just the hat lifting off the guy's
Yeah,
head as he's like surprised, like that feels, and I'm gonna say it again, it feels very Winsor McKay. um, but on the other page, when it's who is that, Gorbachev or Khrushchev, one of them,
oh yeah,
Khrushchev, I think. Yeah, right. Because he comes after Stalin. He's not really doing the same type of.
cartooning. Yeah,
Yeah. Like it's very.
Mm.
There's not a lot of detail to it, and I mean, it's a montage in a single panel. It doesn't need to be, but it is a departure from what we've seen.
yeah, it is interesting. Like that was photographed, and
Yeah,
everything else is just like straight from his mind.
I do think that's a very famous photo of Khrushchev. Like physically, he's taken his shoe off and bangs it on the desk at like a UN summit or something.
So this figure right here, look at the feet. How this foot is rotated outward one way and the other foot is rotated outward the
Yeah.
other way, and
Mm.
it really sells this like walk that's moving like that. Yeah, it's just very cool. Like everything about these figures is just so animated. I love this right here. This is like this panel takes place in 1941
Hmm.
as he's watching the Nazis like enter town and leave, and his wife is knitting. 3 years later, in 1944, they come back, and his wife is still knitting, and the scarf, I guess, is just like
Yeah, she
like
just never stopped.
it like gives that effect. Like she was knitting for like 4 years. It's just very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's little details like that that have kind of a waka waka feel to this whole very, like it's super lighthearted about just the world's biggest loser.
And I love the detailing of like there were these patterns on the top of these old buildings. Um, my grandma was from Poland, and she had similar stuff to this in her Vancouver house, but it was like a calendar. So
Was
I
it like
wonder,
painted?
or well, she hung up. Sorry, it was like it
Oh, okay.
wasn't like yeah, she hung up one of every month, and so this just reminds me of my old Polish grandma and what she
Mm.
had going on there.
Makes sense. Yeah,
It looks like they're painted on here.
it does, right?
Yeah, yeah. Right here, he draws every brick, and they say you should not draw every brick to like to, because you don't want your eyes to focus on too much detail. But he does it so expertly here, where like your eyes go to the negative space and they go to the
Mhm.
figures.
Yeah, yeah,
So
with
there's no
the pinstripe leg and.
Yeah.
Love that
The
pose too.
pinstripe,
That
like
kind of
being
like,
in the center of the page, helps quite a bit.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
love the Gollum-y pose of him creeping and crawling inside.
Yeah, just like look at how tiny that is and how he like has to contort himself to get in. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the most cartoony one of the bunch. And it was only 2 pages, so I'd imagine he's given a 2 page gig. He's like, people have certain expectations of me based on all the other things, but this is 2 pages. I can probably go a little wild, and I don't have to go a little like. It's a little easier to go wild when you've only got a limited amount of pages.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you have to make a lot of economic choices, and I think he made the right ones because he still managed to get things like the texture of, say, the lock. Like that's an old lock, and it's the key has hit around the keyhole a bunch, and
Yeah, yeah, it looks very rusty.
yeah.
And yeah, I love how he draws like the creases in the fingers. Yeah, the whole
But he's
thing is
not
just
doing
great.
A lot of the directional rendering that we've seen in previous
Right.
stuff either. He's keeping it quite clean.
Yeah, and he was working on other DC projects in between a lot of this stuff, so
Mm.
maybe there was just a situation where he didn't have a lot of time for a lot of these later ones. But next up, we have Saint Polycarp. Saint Polycarp, the Cult of Saints, which was from the Big Book of Martyrs in 1997, written by John Wagner. So yeah, this
Yeah,
one
it's only
was
two
what?
pages, and
Yeah,
it's
another
pretty in
another
and
two
out.
pager. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
and this
there's
is the
not a
last
lot
one.
to draw on, right, from this time period is the thing. Historical documents rarely survive, especially from this time period. So it's basically whatever somebody remembered and managed to keep writing about.
Yeah, so not a lot of photography reference to
I wouldn't
consult.
think so. No, no, you get a lot of those goddamn archaeologists recreating stuff, but that's not real history.
Oh man, look at this. The amount of weapons that are just like pouring into the house.
And like the face sneaking around the corner.
Yeah, with the nose like kind of like
Yeah.
peeking through. Ah, just so good.
Here's something we don't often see in his work. In the bottom corner panel, breaking the panel border.
Yeah, which we saw a little bit of that in the 2000 AD stuff. And it's
Mhm.
notable that when he does break the panel border, it doesn't go into the other panel. It only goes into the gutter space.
Mhm.
But I'm not sure why he's doing it here, other than he just misjudged the height of or the size of the panel.
I mean, that could be, or, he is a very playful storyteller. And, it could just be that he was playing. But
Yeah,
yeah, who knows?
I mean, he is giving. I guess he is giving a
Well,
speech to a crowd. Maybe it is like to pull your attention. Sorry, what were you gonna say, Colin?
these two pages, more than anything else, reminded me most of Mobius's stuff, like in the Inkle.
Yes,
Oh,
thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
I've been
The
trying to place it.
like the weapons coming through the door like that, like you can in your mind's eye think of back to shots of the Inkle where the same thing was happening to John DeFool, where the cops were chasing him and stuff
Right,
like
yeah.
that. Like, yeah, that's what brought to my mind when I was reading this one. The
Yeah, and it's
composition of
got
that
that's
crowd
some
shot
that's
too, the very
similar.
last panel is, yeah, the same deal.
It's got that similar amount of lighting where there's not like I have a black and white edition of it, and there's not a lot of blacks on the page as compared to like some of the earlier shorts
Mhm.
that we saw, like the Elephant Man one had a lot of lighting choices. But yeah, it's similar in the Inkle. It has that same vibe where there's just a lot of white space.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also, good for him for just banging out all of those faces.
Yes, it's
Like,
just like
holy
staggering.
shit!
yeah.
Yeah.
Just staggering, isn't it? Just again, like he doesn't cut any corners. He like puts the
No.
work into every single page.
He's putting beards on faces like 2 rows from the top, you know? Those top two are just kind of the general shape of humans, but wow, 2 rows down, he's still putting details in.
And there's just so much
You think he
character
used a magnifying
to
glass?
all of these figures.
I mean, maybe?
Oh, I don't know.
Busting out a three fiber brush to get some of this too.
Yeah, I mean it's all done by the same ink line, it seems. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, and that basically ends it. That's the last short.
Well, I did want to talk about that's a great effect.
Yeah, it is actually a nice little gradient effect.
Yeah.
And the wood below him too. It's still being affected by the light being cast off, but it's I don't know. There's something to it not feeling like it doesn't. It's not drawn like flames, right? It
Yeah,
feels more like I don't know, like Thor's hammer
Yeah.
has landed. But I think that works really well here with the Lord God is protecting him.
yeah. Like I mean, he was asked to draw flames that made an arch.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's I mean, all these scripts, there was just so much that was asked of him, and so much weird stuff that was asked of him, and he nailed it every single time.
Yeah, he did. Yes,
Yeah.
he did.
He really did.
Yeah, very cartoony. The blowing on the flame here.
I love the rendering of or the design of
Yeah, this dude.
this guy. Yeah, just this Easter Island head of a man.
Oh boy. So yeah, that's some good study material. Very inspiring work. And
Yeah.
And you can get it all in graphic ink. That one book.
Yeah, I mean it's out of print, and as we've established in previous episodes, you can always tell when a book was printed based on the DC logo. So this was like 2013.
Yeah, that's the new 52 logo.
Yeah.
So yeah, because DC did like 3 graphic ink books, and then I guess they didn't do any more. So either maybe it was a specific editor's pet project, and that editor got let go, or maybe they didn't sell, and they said, well, we can't keep this up. But there's a Darwin Cook one that I want to track down.
Oh no, now I gotta get it too.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't buy this in 2013. I bought this like 5 years ago at Another Dimension Comics.
R.I.P.
And I was like, this has been sitting on their shelf for 10 years and nobody bought this. So yeah, fortunately I snatched it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dang. I can't even remember when I bought my copy, but yeah, it was.
Oh, you got yours. You got yours when it came out. I remember seeing yours.
Yeah, was it
going about? Yeah, you had it 10 years ago. So
okay.
I mean,
I've had it longer than I thought.
It's not perfect. It's not perfect because the binding is not great. It's glue binding, so the pages don't really lay flat.
Yeah, that's a shame.
But I mean, yeah, it's still a great book, which I highly recommend people track down. But yeah, I guess I don't think anybody did art this week. So
dang, I wish I had, but no.
Yeah, and I should say that I've got a ongoing image book that's currently in stores called Assorted Crisis Events. It's written by Dennis Camp of Ultimates and Absolute Martian Manhunter fame, and yeah, it's been getting a lot of buzz. So yeah, if any of you listeners could support the book, that would be fantastic.
Check it out; it's amazing.
But let's close it out.
All right, man.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for watching, and don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.